On this episode of MythBusters,
Ta-da!
you're in charge. The team randomly selects stories from the mailbox and gives them a whirl. You've asked, are Hollywood gun handling techniques effective or just for show?
Nice, gangsta.
Your next request is to test a ballistic myth sent in by the troops. Then there's the internet craze for crazy roadside assistance.
Seems like a really dangerous way to fill a tire.
And the final lucky dip in this eclectic mix of myths is a mathematical paradox from a game show.
We have a winner.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
and Jamie Hyneman.
We're going to have an adventure.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Tori Belleci, Grant Imahara,
This is the most dangerous thing we're gonna do all week.
and Carrie Byron.
Let's do it.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Step right up for a viewer request extravaganza.
What's this about?
Well, this is the Wheel of Myth Fortune. In each one of these boxes is a suggestion from a fan for a story we should do. Give it a spin.
Dear Mythbusters, can you please test the Monty Hall paradox from the game show Let's Make a Deal?
This is great. I know you're a big fan of game shows, but let me remind you what this one is. Monty Hall offers a contestant a choice of one of 3 doors, says there's a prize behind one of them, and the contestant chooses, let's say, door B. Before he gets to see if there's a prize behind that, Monty opens up door A and shows him that there's nothing behind it. Monty then offers the contestant a chance to switch from his original door B to the remaining door C. The question is, should you switch? Now, this is interesting for 2 reasons. One is that apparently psychologically people do not want to switch from their original choice. 2 is, apparently, they will win more often if they do switch.
Wow. Well, I'm not sure why that would be the case, but let's test it.
It's unusual that a complex mathematical paradox is named after a game show host. But this counterintuitive problem has puzzled number crunchers for years. After a door selection is made, the host always opens one of the remaining 2 doors and then gives the contestant a chance to stick with their original choice or switch to the other unopened door. Which leaves us with a 2-part myth. Supposedly, people overwhelmingly decide to stick, and apparently, it's better to switch.
So how do you want to go about this?
Well, as far as I can see, there's 2 parts to this story. One psychological and one statistical. The psychological being that people do not want to switch from their original choice. The statistical being that there is an advantage to them if they do.
Well, let's start with the psychological then.
Perfect.
So, let the games begin.
If we're going to test this out on the general public, we should get a bunch of people, say 20 or so.
20 sounds like a good number. How do you want to run them through it?
Well, we could do it with, say, a deck of cards.
I feel like that's missing something essential to a game show experience that may influence people's decision making. So I'm thinking a real stage and some real doors and set up a MythBusters game show scenario. That looks great.
And with their pre-made props in tow, the team's mathematical mission begins at a local theater,
Ladies and gentlemen, door number 1.
where they prepare their game show setting, which includes the obligatory over-the-top game show host outfit.
Ta-da!
Maybe you should try door number 3. Much better.
Now, shall we start?
Yep.
With Adam dressed for the test, let's find out exactly what the test is.
We've gotten 20 volunteers, and the door behind which the prize has been placed will be determined by a computer-generated randomizer.
The psychology of this myth is what we're investigating with this test. It is stated that most people, if given the choice to switch their door, will not do it.
Hello, sir. Hi.
We want to find out if that's true. We're going to bring in a bunch of contestants, run them through the whole test, but what we're really looking for is to see how many stick with their original choice and how many switch.
Big, high,
We are playing a little game today called Pick a Door.
Okay.
I would like to start this game by you telling me which door is your choice.
I will take number 1.
Number 1, door number 1 is your choice. Yes. Jamie, will you please show Brian what's behind door number 3?
Nothing.
As you can see, there's nothing behind door number 3. For those of you playing at home, there's an important fact you should know, which is that whenever I open an empty door for the contestant, I know where the prize is, and I'm showing them an empty door on purpose. Your prize is either behind door number 1, your original choice, or door number 2. I'm gonna give you one last chance. You could switch right now to door number 2 if you'd like, or you can stick with your original choice.
And so to the moment of truth. As per the first part of the myth, will he stick or will he take the opportunity to switch?
I will stick with my door number 1.
You will stick. All right, how come?
Because it was my first instinct.
There it is. Contestant number 1 sticks, and Adam and Jamie have their first data point.
Jamie, will you show Brian what's behind door number 1?
Nothing.
Sorry, there's nothing behind door number 1. Thank you so much for playing. That's an excellent
Thank
data
you.
point. Have a good day.
Thank you.
With no pre-knowledge of the test, from backstage, the next contestant steps up.
How are you?
And after picking her door,
Which door is your choice?
1.
Jamie opens up a losing door, and Adam moves the test along to the relevant data point.
You can switch to door number 3, or you can stick with your original choice. What's it gonna be? Are you gonna switch or stick?
I'm sticking.
You're sticking. How come?
Because the door is pink.
Okay.
This time, sticking pays off.
We have a winner.
It's a winner! Congratulations.
But remember, the win-lose result is irrelevant in part 1 of the myth. We're testing the psychology of the decision-making. Is it true that the contestants will predominantly choose to stick?
Nothing.
I'd like to offer you one last chance to perhaps switch your choice to door number 3 or stick with your original choice.
I'll stick with 1.
You really want to stick?
My
How come?
gut feeling. says
Gut
behind
feeling?
1.
That's 3 from 3.
I'm sorry.
And as the 100% record in favor of the myth continues,
I'ma still go with number 1.
things start to get really interesting.
I'm gonna stick with number 2.
You're going to stick with number 2. Is there a reason behind your wanting to stick?
First choice.
Because it's not just the score that's providing a pattern,
I'm gonna stick with 2.
Sticking with 3. I'd like to stick with my original.
You're going to stick.
but the motivation for sticking is becoming clearer.
I'm gonna stick.
You're going to stick. How come?
I guess it's a 50-50 chance.
The perception is that with 2 doors left, there's a 50-50 chance of winning. And so there's seemingly no advantage to switching.
You know, I trust my instincts. I'm gonna stay with door number 2.
And incredibly, as every single contestant decides to stick,
I'm gonna stay with 3.
part 1 of the myth is looking great.
Dude, this is so cool. They are all of them sticking with their original choice.
I know.
It's so cool. I would not have called that.
I'll stick with number 1.
And to fully decipher the results,
I'm gonna stick.
Adam and Jamie roll their game show credits.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nicely done. Thank you so much for
And head back to the shop.
Okay, Wheel of Myth Fortune. Shall I give it a spin?
Please.
Go for it. What does it say?
This letter comes from a U.S. soldier. He writes, Dear Mythbusters, if a hand grenade lands next to you, is it better to hit the ground because shrapnel will go up and out?
Oh, okay, because if the shrapnel goes up and out, it might create a safe zone down below.
Raised by a brave friend in the military, it's an interesting ballistics question. Is the lethal fragment pattern of a grenade really just up and away? Can you actually avoid shrapnel damage by hitting the deck?
All right, so there's 2 things lethal about a grenade, the shockwave and the shrapnel.
All right, well, why don't we do this? Let's go to the bomb range. We'll set off some hand grenades and find out at what point the shockwave is no longer lethal.
Right. At that distance, you'd be safe, and then all you'd have to worry about is the shrapnel. So we build something to catch all the shrapnel at that distance and see what we get.
To kick things off, the guys hit their favorite location.
We've come out to the Alameda County Sheriff's bomb range to test the myth that if a grenade is going off and you hit the deck, lay flat on the ground, you will get no shrapnel.
But before we get to the shrapnel, we need to establish the blast wave perimeter, because inside of that, shrapnel or not, you'd be dead. Now to do that, we're going to use our Osico burst discs. They're set to 75 psi, which is the threshold of certain death.
Now, we'll have 10 burst discs, starting at a foot all the way out to 10 feet from the blast. Now, this will record the lethality of the blast from the grenade. Now, we've used these burst discs in the past, knock your socks off, and what's blast-proof. So, it's gonna give us the data we need.
All right, here's the last one. Sensors are set.
Remember, this first detonation is designed to determine how far the lethal perimeter of the shockwave extends. Later, the team will use that minimum survival distance as the point at which they measure the height of the shrapnel distribution. But for now, it's all about the shockwave, which means they're ready to pull the pin, right? Wrong.
Because pulling a pin from a grenade can be somewhat dangerous, we're having JD set it up so that we can fire it remotely from the bunker.
So while the team hunker down in the bunker, Sergeant J.D. Nelson takes a decommissioned grenade and rigs it with an equivalent amount of high explosive, a blasting cap, and a remote control detonator. And that definitely means it's boom time.
All right, you guys ready? Let's do this. All right, this is testing the blast wave of a hand grenade. You know, this is the first time I've ever seen a hand grenade go off this closely.
Yeah, me too.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, fire. Wow, that was awesome.
All right,
That was energetic.
let's check it out.
What they're checking is how many of the burst discs burst, and crucially, which ones survived.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, 5-foot radius. That is our blast zone for our grenade. So we set off our grenade and we got some good results. First disc at 5 feet away ruptured, but the one at 6 feet didn't. Meaning at 5 feet, the shockwave alone would kill you, but at 6 feet, you'd survive. So we're gonna set up our shrapnel catchers just outside that 5-foot radius and find out exactly what the fragment pattern is.
Okay, let's go get the shrapnel catchers.
Perfect.
Yep, it's time to bring out the shrapnel catchers. The idea of this test is to determine exactly how high the fragments hit.
Okay, so just outside of 5 feet.
If there's a zone near the ground that is free from damage, then the myth will be confirmed. And from what he's already seen, Grant is optimistic.
So if you look at the high-speed footage, it's looking really good for this myth. So you see the blast wave propagating. If you're outside of that lethal 5-foot radius, you're safe from that. What we're interested in is the shrapnel, which is all the little sparkly bits. And you see that going up and out. Now, the important thing for us is what happens if you're close to the ground. How much of that shrapnel will actually hit you?
What do you get when you cross a complex probability puzzle with a game show? The answer is the viewer-requested myth known as the Monty Hall paradox. And so far, Adam and Jamie have answered part 1 of the problem.
What's it going to be? Are you going to switch or are you going to stick?
As far as the psychology of sticking or switching goes,
I'm gonna stick with 2.
contestants are unwilling to change their choice.
I'm gonna stick.
So where do we stand?
Well, amazingly, our volunteers chose to stick 100% of the time.
The second part states that we should see a clear statistical advantage to switching. Did we see anything like that in the numbers?
Well, given that nobody decided to switch, we don't really know.
Well, clearly, we should run this again, and I think with an equal number of switching iterations to sticking iterations so that we can really compare the numbers.
As Jamie said, with all of the contestants sticking, they don't yet have any data on whether switching is advantageous. So test 2 will focus on the statistical paradox. Is switching, in what appears to be a 50-50 situation, really your best bet? To find out, Adam and Jamie will collect a large and definitive sample of 100 data points with an elegant, mechanical mini game show setup.
So what I need to do right now is build a physical Monty Hall paradox testing simulator. And it's a machine. I need to think of it like a machine because there's a lot of moving parts. I'm thinking it's going to have 2 sets of 3 doors, one for me, one for Jamie. It's going to have a roll of 50 tests randomly selected, preloaded so that we can cycle through it really fast. It's not going to be a simple build, but I think in the end it's going to be really cool.
All right, let's bring it on in.
This rig serves a couple of functions. First, it increases our sample size, which in turn increases our accuracy. Secondly, it removes the variable of choice from the equation and puts both switching and sticking on an even playing field. We'll show you how you would fare over time with either choice. So this all looks lovely, but how's it work?
You and I are going to run through each of the tests, and each time we win, we take a red piece of paper and we thumbtack it up onto the board behind us.
Okay.
At the end, we should be able to see visually if there's a difference between me always switching and you never switching, and we should be able to count and compare the numbers.
How do I think I'll do? Well, if the myth is true, Adam's gonna kick my butt.
To find out, it's pick a door, take two.
Test number 1, choose your door.
I choose 1.
I choose door number 2, open an empty door.
I'm sticking. I lose.
I am switching. I win! Whee!
Unlike the previous test,
I choose 1.
I choose 3.
Adam and Jamie are focusing only on the win-lose result.
I'm sticking. I lose.
I am switching. I win! Woohoo!
The rules are exactly the same,
Test number 3.
except the stick or switch variable is removed.
I'm sticking.
Jamie always sticks,
I lose.
and Adam always switches.
I am switching. I win! This is crazy. I can't keep winning like this.
In addition, the large sample means that over time,
I'm sticking. I lose.
the results will reflect the true probability of the choice to stick or switch.
I'm sticking. I win.
Hey!
But it's not long before the results on the board paint a definitive picture.
I choose 2.
The Monty Hall paradox is interesting because, on the face of it, it seems simple.
I am switching. I win!
During the final stage of it, you've got 2 choices. You know one of them's a winner and one of them's not, so common sense would tell you that you've got a 50-50 chance of winning, and yet you don't. That's where the paradox comes in.
I am switching. I win! 7 in a row, in your face! You could talk about the mathematics and the statistics and the theory and the proofs of this story until you're blue in the face, but the only way to make the numbers truly clear is just to do it, and the results are crystal clear. Switching is far, far better than sticking with your original choice.
What's going on here is really interesting. If the prize is equally likely to be behind each of the doors, then if a player picks door 1, there's a 1 in 3 chance the prize is behind it. That means that there's a 2 in 3 chance that the prize is behind doors 2 and 3. Now take away door 3, and there's still a 2 in 3 chance that it's behind door 2. So switching effectively doubles your chances of winning. So what advice can we offer our viewers about the Monty Hall paradox?
Well, clearly if you're ever playing this game, you will have an overwhelming urge to stick with your original choice. But given the fact that the host knows where the prize is and shows you an empty door, it is always an advantage for you to switch.
Then it would be confirmed.
Totally confirmed.
Whoa, check it out.
What is it? I want to see it. Oh, I totally know this one. This guy apparently wanted to build himself a house, so he pulled up to a lumberyard with only his sedan, loaded it up with thousands of pounds worth of building materials tied with twine, and he tried to drive away.
Well, I guess we get that exact car and try to match that exact load and see what happens.
Sounds perfect. Let's do it.
It's a viewer-supplied photo and a series of facts that defy belief. Using his small sedan, our DIY hero supposedly hauled home 3,000 pounds of backseat concrete and rooftop lumber. And Adam and Jamie's task is to find out if this extraordinary tale of top-heavy haulage is true or truly insane. To do it, they need exactly the same building materials and a car they don't mind squashing.
I think this will do just fine.
In all its vomit-inducing lime green glory, it's primed for destruction.
This is our car. It is precisely the same make and model of the car that is visible in the photos of this story. Our plan is pretty simple. We've got 3,100 pounds of lumber and concrete, one car,
enough twine to lash the two together, and we're just gonna go for it. Now, in the story, the guy was supposedly going to drive his car fully loaded with all this stuff. Will this car even drive when it's fully loaded? That's what we're gonna find out. 800 pounds of concrete?
Yep.
Let's start on the wood.
Okay.
Just like in the photo, we've got concrete in the back seat. And even though we've just started loading the car, we're already at its maximum load limit of 1,000 pounds.
The bottom of this car is about 1.5 inches off the ground.
But clearance is not the only issue. The roof is a precarious platform for a top-heavy, loosely stacked load.
You might not think that there's going to be a whole lot of danger in this story. I mean, we're not using explosives or anything. But actually, this is an awful lot of weight. If it starts to slide off, somebody could lose a leg or a foot. Well, so far so good.
With the base layer of plywood and 2x4s wobbling alarmingly,
And the 4x4s.
the guys begin stacking 40 lengths of 4x4. Weighing in at 600 pounds, making sure they're square and stable is absolutely crucial.
At this point, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this, and we're just getting started. We've sort of left the zone of, let's go to the store and get some wood, go home and do some renovations.
This is the last one.
With 1,700 pounds of loose lumber ready to topple, Adam and Jamie focus on tying the load securely.
There we go.
But secure or not, how much more can she take?
It's straining.
I'm glad it's not my car.
Yeah, me too.
Just like the car in the photo, the team is conscious that there's a very real likelihood of collapse. And as the final 1,500 pounds are added and secured, and the car's recommended payload tripled, Jamie's not confident.
The biggest concern I have at this point is whether it'll actually move at all. It seems to me that the rear tires are thoroughly jammed in the wheel well. The only way to find out whether it moves or not is to get in it and drive.
But not before they add a vital element of safety.
It is totally amazing to me that the car has survived what we've done to it. There's 3,000 pounds of stuff on there. Put some safety in this puppy. Clearly, before we drive it, we're gonna have to put in some kind of roll cage or protection to keep the roof from collapsing. And even then, it's making me nervous.
The violently colored car has survived so far, but the guy in the myth claims he drove it home. So Adam and Jamie nervously prepare for the definitive test.
I gotta say, I don't like this.
No?
No.
All right, sir, you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
If they can get moving and take a spin around the parking lot, then it'll be myth confirmed.
Yes. Overloaded car, driving forward.
If not, it'll be myth busted, much like the car and possibly Adam and Jamie.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, look at that. I was wrong.
This is crazy! It's totally working!
Yep, as they gently cruise around the lot, the astonishing result is evident.
I don't even hear any creaking or complaining at all.
No, I don't either.
The guy in the myth may have ruined his car and been a danger to other road users, but he was right. It is just barely possible.
We get asked all the time if we're surprised by things that happen on the show.
Let's quit while we're ahead.
Okay, hold on. And right now, I am sitting on one of them. This car is holding up 3,100 pounds of building supplies. And honestly, when I got up this morning, I did not think the car was up to it. Boy, was I wrong. This is crazy!
It's terrifying is what it is. Well, you know what that means.
What's that?
We don't have any choice but to call this confirmed.
Based on what I see in the picture, which is this make and model car with 3,100 pounds of building supplies on top of it, I think you're right. We've confirmed that you can load this car up, and amazingly, it will drive.
Stupid, crazy, ridiculous, not recommended, but confirmed.
It's confirmed. Let's get out of here.
So that's another Wheel of Myth Fortune mystery solved. But there's more to come, and maybe one of them is yours. Carrie, Grant, and Tori are back at the bomb range. They're testing the myth that the shrapnel from a grenade only goes up and out. And if you hit the deck, you won't get hit.
And here's what we've learned so far. When the grenade explodes, there's about a 5-foot perimeter in which the blast wave is what's going to kill you. But from the high speed, it looks like the shrapnel's all going upward, leaving a safety zone low near the ground. That's where our shrapnel catcher comes in.
Now around me are our shrapnel catchers. Now the white section represents somebody standing, and the red section represents somebody getting down on the ground. Give me 20.
Now, there are two reasons why hitting the deck might be advantageous. First of all, obviously, you're minimizing your profile to the grenade. But secondly, the pattern of the shrapnel seems to be going up and out. And that's why we're adding a top to our shrapnel catcher so we can see what that looks like.
The debris from the preliminary explosion does seem to indicate it's moving up and out. But to find out for sure, any lethal damage from the less visible metal fragments will mark the painted plywood of these boards. If the area at the bottom is clear, then the myth is confirmed.
Just to cover all our bases, we're gonna use a couple different kinds of grenades. We have a vintage mid-century pineapple grenade and a more modern baseball grenade. Now, though these names are somewhat innocuous, baseball, pineapple, the important thing to know is that they're gonna be throwing out shrapnel at 22,000 feet per second. Now, just to illustrate what we're talking about here, the inside of this grenade is perforated. Each one of these little sections is going to be a lethal projectile.
First up, JD hooks up the pineapple grenade with its distinctive grooves, and the team heads down to the bunker.
Ready for some shrapnel?
With the remote detonator rigged, it's time to find out if you can avoid grenade shrapnel by hitting the deck.
In 3, 2, 1.
Wow. That did some serious damage.
It even knocked over one of the shrapnel catchers.
I think we're gonna have a lot of shrapnel.
All right, let's go check it out.
And what they find is that being around when a grenade goes off is not a good idea at all. The shrapnel spray on the acrylic roof alone is frightening.
Oh, look at that.
Wow, we got a lot of shrapnel.
But did we get it down below?
Yep.
So it looks like this one is busted. You don't get away scot-free down low.
Well, the shrapnel pattern is definitely clear, and it's even emphasized if you look at the exit wounds. There's a lot more shrapnel at the top than there is at the bottom. But clearly, there's still shrapnel at the bottom, so this myth is busted.
Yep, for the pineapple grenade at least, the myth that the blast carries all of the shrapnel up and away and leaves a clear zone near the ground is busted.
All right, so this one is busted. But why don't we move on to the modern day grenade and see what that does?
Modern grenade.
The team moves in at the double and replaces all of the shrapnel catchers. And JD does his thing with the baseball grenade.
Okay, baseball grenade shrapnel test.
Do it.
Charging. In 3, 2, 1.
Whoa! That was way bigger than the pineapple grenade.
Let's go check the shrapnel pattern.
And their discovery puts this ballistic myth to bed.
Whoa! Look at that, the modern day grenade had even more shrapnel in the shrapnel-free zone.
Even if you hit the deck, you're still gonna get hit by shrapnel.
The myth that when a grenade is going off, if you hit the deck, you will have no shrapnel hit you is busted. True, the pattern of shrapnel mostly goes upward, but there's still a lot that goes down below in that zone.
The exit wounds tell the story. The fragment pattern is a chaotic spray in all directions, including the mythical shrapnel-free zone. But it is less dense down low, which suggests that hitting the deck, although busted, is the best of a very bad situation.
Yeah, it might be busted, but look, if I'm in this situation, I'm gonna hit the deck.
Absolutely.
MythBusters, I've been an action movie fanatic for years, and I've noticed something about the way people hold guns in movies. I've seen guns fired from the hip, fired with an extended arm, one-handed, two-handed, and even two guns at the same time. Lately, everyone seems to be holding guns sideways. Do any of these styles offer specific advantages in accuracy over the others, or are they all just meant to look cool?
Well, that seems pretty straightforward. We get some guns, some targets, and see which technique is more accurate.
Let's get shooting.
The history of firearm fashion is replete with a heap of ever-changing, stylish poses. And this fan request is all about accuracy. They want to know of 5 classic cinematic stances which work and which are style over substance. To find out, Adam and Jamie are down at the range.
This is perfect. Shall we get to shooting?
I think so.
Shooting and shooting. Here is the plan. For every single handling technique we'll be testing, Jamie and I will each unload a full magazine of 8 bullets at the intended target, and we will score ourselves based on timing and accuracy. At the end of all those tests, a quick look at both the targets and the scores really ought to give us a fantastic picture about which handling techniques are truly effective and which ones are just for show.
That sounds straightforward. All they need now are some guns and targets.
Here is today's target. If you see one of these perched over your bed in the middle of the night, shoot it! Shoot it immediately!
The gun we'll be using is a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol. We'll be putting 230 grain full metal jacket ammo in it. Very common gun, very common ammo worldwide.
Scoring, pretty straightforward. Black section equals 10 points, yellow section 7 points, white 6, red 5. Once we've tallied up all the points from shooting, we will divide that by the amount of seconds it took to fire all 8 bullets, and that'll give us a final score.
The main tool we'll be using for this test is an acoustic timer. When we press this button, it'll start working, it'll hear each shot, and it'll give us the total amount of time it took to make the 8 shots.
Now, I know you may be looking at this setup and thinking that we're making things pretty easy for ourselves, but the point of this experiment isn't about whether Jamie or I are good shots. It's actually to compare the different handholds and their accuracy and their effectiveness. We've chosen this distance to give us the best resolution for that comparison.
That's the setup. A gun, 2 targets 15 feet away, a scoring system that combines accuracy and firing rate, and there's a ballistics expert on hand to keep everyone safe. The only missing component is a baseline control.
Range is hot, safety is on.
We'll be comparing all the firing styles we're using against this, the Weaver stance. It's been used since the 1980s by law enforcement and in competition, and it's regarded as the most effective way to repeatedly and accurately fire a handgun.
That's good shooting because it's a really good group.
And Jamie and I have actually been trained in it.
The Weaver position has a couple of things going for it. The first is that it feels nice and stable. You're using both hands, you've got a good, solid purchase on the gun. The second thing is that you're holding it in such a position that you can see down the sights of the gun. That also seems to me like a pretty good idea.
With the Weaver technique complete, the scores can be collated. And if any of the 5 Hollywood poses to be tested come close to Adam and Jamie's controlled average of 7.3, it'll be confirmed it's a reasonable technique.
All right, well, we've got our control. Let's start holding the gun in other ways.
And first up, popularized by Bogart in gangster movies of the 30s and 40s, it's shooting from the hip.
I don't know about you, but I don't have high hopes for this stance. I mean, come on, you can't even see the sights. How are you gonna know where you're aiming? And after the gun resets, how are you gonna get that second shot? I don't think it's gonna be that effective. Jamie's been shooting from the hip for years.
You ready?
Safety's off.
Shooting from the hip.
As Jamie fires off his 8 rounds, it seems Adam's prediction is spot on. Jamie missed all 8.
You just got no clue where it's going. I mean, you're just sort of like, well, that seems about right.
I can't wait to try.
Good luck.
This is a crazy position to shoot from.
With a few hits loosely spread around the target, Adam is marginally more successful than Jamie. But this classic stance is clearly not ideal.
It's crazy. There's just no kinesthetic reset down here. You're hoping every single time. Oh, let's figure out what the score is.
And the scoreboard story is a sorry tale of woe for the first Hollywood handling technique. An average of 2.8 is significantly short of the control, meaning that method is busted.
Well, that was fun.
Oh, it's not over yet. There's more to go.
Jamie and Adam have already proved that as far as firearm fashion goes, shooting from the hip might look cool, but it's just not very effective.
It's crazy. There's just no kinesthetic reset down here. You're hoping every single time.
Up next is the straight arm from the shoulder. It peaked in popularity in the cheesy action movies of the 80s, but has long been a stylish staple. But will it work?
My feeling is that the straight arm position is going to be good because I am able to line up with the sights as well as my body in a fairly stable position.
Jamie unloads, and even before the points are tallied, it's clear the position is working well.
Nice shooting, Tex.
As Adam also demonstrates,
Okay, Adam, straight arm shooting.
compared to the hip shot, it's stable, which enables rapid repeat firing. And being able to use the gun's sights is another obvious advantage.
That's fun.
And it all boils down to a score that compares extremely favorably with the control.
I love this stance almost as much as I like the Weaver. It gives me a tremendous amount of control. The accuracy was as good as the Weaver stance. Yeah, this one's a winner.
So next up is the gangster style, right?
Yes, what we were just doing, like this, body on the side, except with the gun turned, like we're a straight-up thug.
A staple of the 90s, on-screen hoodlums seem to think a 90-degree twist adds a little something to their shooting skills. But does it really? Adam's excited to find out.
I have always wanted to hold a gun this way. I've heard tell that you could break your wrist. Clearly, I don't think that's about to happen, but I'm interested to see what my accuracy is like. Okay, I'm ready. Did I hit it once?
Although the straight arm did enable Adam to fire off his rounds quickly enough, his score was poor.
Final score of 1.0.
Let's see how Jamie does.
Mr. Hyneman, gangster style.
Looking suspiciously natural in the gangsta pose, Jamie outscores Adam.
Final score is 1.6.
Nice, gangsta.
But when totaled into the table, the result tells us this funky-looking firearm fashion is frankly defunct.
I'll be honest with you. The gangsta style, it's the one I was anticipating the most, and after shooting with it, it is by far the most ridiculous of all. You can't see where your bullets are going. You have no point of reference. You're looking at the wrong part. You're actually ignoring useful sights that are right. Forget about it. Don't shoot that way.
Wheel of Misfortune. What we got?
Dear MythBusters, is it true that you can reseat an inflated tire using starter fluid?
There's so many videos on the internet of people with deflated tires. They put something flammable in it, light it, and it goes whoop, and it actually reseats, inflates, and stays inflated.
Sounds simple enough. All we need is a tire and some starter fluid.
This could be so dangerous.
Or explosive.
Where there's fire, there's folk that just can't help themselves. But despite the danger, the MythBusters want to know if these clips of explosive roadside assistance are real. Can you really reseat and inflate a tire by heating things up? Well, there's only one way to find out.
Getting up flat on a deserted road, this is how all horror movies start.
Imagine you're in a deserted location, you've got a flat tire, and you've got no spare. That's what this myth is all about. Seating a tire on a rim and inflating it when you've got nothing but a can of starter fluid and a lighter.
Now, in the internet clip, we see a man spray starter fluid into the deflated tire. He lights a match, and it seats instantly and inflates and stays inflated. So that is what we're gonna be testing.
So we're gonna try this with a classic tire, and if that doesn't work, we're gonna move on to a truck tire because it has thicker walls.
First up, it's the regular size tire, which Carrie lets down before getting dressed up for a date with danger.
Good luck, Carrie. Here's your fluid. Here's your lighter. Don't blow yourself up.
Just like the video, the tire is deflated and unseated from the rim. And also, just like the reference clip, Carrie sprays an accelerant into the tire before lighting it.
Well, we got a tire on fire.
But it's just a big letdown.
But it's not inflating.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't just go poof. Like
Yeah.
That, right?
Try that again.
Take two. But this time, Tori pumps his foot on the tire, mixing the accelerant with air.
Let's see if we get some air in there. We get a better mix ratio.
Wow.
That worked like a charm!
Except now they seem to have a rapidly inflating tire on fire. That means an explosion is a very real possibility.
Woohoo! It's gonna blow! Maybe we should all step a little bit further back.
Okay.
That was probably the most terrifying tire inflating I've ever experienced. Seems like a really dangerous way to fill a tire. We got the starter fluid into the tire, we got the mixture right, Carrie lit it, and it instantly seated and inflated just like in the video. In fact, it worked so well that it looked like the tire was gonna explode and we all took off running. However, when it was all said and done, a lot of cooling happened, a lot of fuel was burnt, and we actually created a vacuum inside the tire.
Yeah, look at that. It's a vacuum.
Wow.
I wouldn't call that inflated. I call that the opposite of inflated. So there's a couple parts to this myth. One, does it seat the tire on the rim? Yes. You ignite the gases, they expand rapidly, and it pops right on. Two, does it inflate the tire? Yes. It actually inflates it very quickly, and it almost looks like it's gonna blow up. But three, and most important, does it stay inflated? No, because as the gases cool, it forms sort of a vacuum, and you see the tire shrink back down onto the rim. So this one is busted.
Busted. But there is some truth to the myth. It's an excellent, if highly dangerous method of reseating and briefly inflating the tire. It just doesn't stay inflated. But the team isn't done yet.
All right, next up, heavy-duty truck tire.
The clip the viewer sent in showed the trick being done on a truck tire. So to cover all their bases, they're giving that a go. And once again, Carrie gets the accelerant right into the tire before lighting it.
Whoa! Nice!
It worked!
But did it really?
Oh, but look at that. It's lost its inflation.
Oh. So it's a great party trick, but not really good for road repairs.
Not practical.
The initial rapid expansion of gases from the explosion does pop the tire onto the rim, but when those gases cool, you're pretty much back to square one.
Now, after watching the video, it seemed like seating and inflating your tire with fire is dangerous. And, well, let's face it, it is. However, it does work. You can seat the tire, but it does not stay inflated. You still need some kind of compressed air to keep the tire filled. So, this one's busted.
Welcome back. We have been testing a bunch of gun handling techniques that we have seen in the movies, but now it's time to add another layer. A gun-shaped layer. That's right. It's now time for two guns.
So, Matrix-style two-gun gunplay is up next. But are you really doubling your chances of a ballistics bullseye?
Jamie, you look badass, I'll tell you that.
Ready.
Here we go.
There is one important factor to note. Despite using double the amount of ammo, the final time-adjusted score will still give an accurate comparison to the control. After all, firing twice as many bullets takes twice as long.
Nice work, hombre.
That was an experience. There's a certain kind of symmetry to it that I liked. You can almost brace your hands together on each other while you're firing.
Before we tally the total, Adam's up. And despite Jamie having a tash-tickling experience, Adam's not confident.
Safeties are on.
Bang, 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 low score, moving on, right? That's what I'm expecting. Okay, here we go. Safety's off.
Yep, the balance and symmetry of shooting two guns at once may be the reason it looks so cool. But really, it's a tricky feat of coordination that makes real marksmanship tough.
Yay! That was awesome!
Isn't it?
Yes! I really like how that feels. It's like a rocking horse of death. Jamie was totally right. Two guns might not mean double the score, but it is super fun. I mean, you end up with this kind of rhythm where you're rocking your head and firing like bang, 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 bang. It feels very kind of weirdly natural. And like you're a cartoon character, so what could be better?
The score for one thing, because the final tally of 4.1 means it might be an adrenaline-surging ton of fun, but it's also a whole heap of busted.
Well, haven't we covered just about everything?
Just about. There's one more thing I want to try. We've done 2 guns towards 1 target, but in the movies, I've seen this. Crossed hands, 2 different targets. I think we should try it.
Why not?
All right. These aren't real guns. These are our stand-in guns, because I don't point real guns at our cameraman.
It's where ballet meets ballistic gunplay, the ultimate in slick cinematic choreography. But Adam is unimpressed.
Crisscross is ridiculous. I say now that it's second only to the gangster style in ridiculousness and the lack of effectiveness.
With the targets several feet apart, Jamie gets his bearings, lines up, and unleashes hell.
You look like you were going a little popcorn machine there for a second.
I figured I might as well have some fun with it.
Yep, he was off balance. And the patting your head while rubbing your stomach type action means coordination was also an issue. All of which was reflected in a low score that matches the pre-test prediction.
Final score, 2.1.
But there's no denying Jamie did look every inch the cool cinematic hitman. Something, as he takes his position, Adam aspires to. And as he fires at the dual targets, it turns out it's a role Adam believes he can fill.
Not bad.
Bad.
Not bad at all.
The stance was much more effective than he expected.
Final score was 7.1.
Nice.
Which is pretty good.
Woo!
That's pretty good.
But despite Adam's surprisingly healthy points total, and considering he used twice as many rounds as the control, in the final analysis, it just doesn't cut it.
I thought because you could brace your arms against each other it might work, but it doesn't. You'd be much better off using a proper technique and one gun. Crisscross is clearly busted.
So with Crisscross consigned to the busted bin, let's get the lowdown on the whole history of filmic firearm fashion.
Let's assess what we've learned, shall we? We started with the Weaver technique, which was the best score and the best clustering for Jamie and I. And we went to shooting from the hip, which was pretty much the worst. When you did look down the sights, as we did by holding the gun at the side, we did pretty darn well, getting most of the bullets on the target and the second best score to the Weaver. Gangsta style, what can I say? It's terrible, it's ridiculous. It's totally a useless way to hold a handgun. Then we brought 2 guns into the mix. And what we saw when we brought 2 guns into the mix with double the bullets was not double the scores. In fact, the scores most of the time went down, except for, I think, a couple lucky shots for me at the end. After looking at all of this, I have to conclude that as long as you're looking down the sights of a single gun and concentrating on it, you're going to have the most effective shooting technique. You don't need 2 guns.
This wheel thing worked pretty well.
It did. But I'm wondering, what do we do with the myths we haven't read or filmed yet?
Well, let's just leave this thing set up. I have a feeling we're going to be using it again.
All right. You heard the man. Send us your ideas.